These daily habits will kill you early. I just came back from the hospital and I am trying to contain myself and make this as educational as possible. My life was just turned upside down, and my hope is that you'll watch this very end of the video and you'll be able to apply the things that I'm going to mention in this video so that you can live a long and healthy life. And not only you, but the people around you that you love, your mom, your dad, your uncle, your grandma, anybody who you love, who is in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on, and that you want them to be a part of your life for a very long time. So I came back from the hospital and my mom's like, hey, I just did my bloods after my recommendation because I wanted to see what was going on with her blood panels. And the doctor just told her casually that she's pre-diabetic. It felt like my whole world was turned around in that very moment. And I looked at her bloods, and not only is she diabetic, her triglycerides are high. She has blood pressure. She's overweight, right? That one's very obvious. But everything else that I saw in her blood shocked me, and it made me very sad. And it takes me back to why I created this YouTube channel in the first place. Why are we here? And again, I will try my very best to remain as scientific and as concise as possible so you guys can apply this. But this hits close to home, and I hope that it hits close to home for you. And I want you to take these 5 steps to change these daily habits so you can live a long and healthy life, because ultimately that's what we want. Right? Losing the weight and getting a 6-pack is fantastic, but we want to be around for as long as we can with the people that we love as long as we can in a healthy manner. So I am a scientist at first, and I understand the body at a molecular level. I'm also a medical doctor, and why I started this very YouTube channel and Build Sculpt by Science is because a lot of the patients I was dealing with on a day-to-day basis in the hospital, because of what I understand about the body as a coach, as someone who's been transforming lives for a decade, I looked at a lot of the patients in the hospital and I said to myself, you know what, a lot of the things that made them end up being on this hospital bed right now could have been avoided. And I was thinking, like, why don't we even talk about this? I've studied the body for 10 years. In medical training, we spend 2 weeks on nutrition in 6 years. And this will shock you even more. The 2 weeks we spend learning on nutrition, it is about the nutrition of a baby, how to feed a baby as they grow, and no more. They don't teach you anything else. And this is why when you go to your doctors, they say, hey, exercise and eat healthy, because they weren't trained on what you should put into your body each and every single day. That a lot of the times is the main cause of why you're there in the first place. So to an extent, the medical field does have its practices that are very outdated, right? The stuff that they're telling you 30 years ago is the stuff that they're telling you today. So when I went to the second doctor, without them having context of what I know and who I am, right? I don't have a beard. I don't look too old, I hope. And the advice they gave my mom with elevated triglycerides, low HDL, high blood pressure, waist circumference over 40 was, hey, maybe we can consider Ozempic. Maybe we can consider keto, just be healthier, move more, but this is like part of life. And she said, oh, go weight train as well, but be careful, because if you lift weights, you're going to gain weight if you lift weights. And this is where we are today. I am addressing this head on, and I'll share my mother's story in 4 to 5 months. So hopefully you guys can do the same for your mom and dad. Number 1, ignorance is not bliss. Understand your body to a high level. So if you're 30 years old and above, consider doing a routine yearly blood exam, if not a full medical exam. Do a blood panel and ask the doctor to go over every single metric on your blood panel so you can understand what's going on in your body, right? Besides the very obvious symptoms that you may present physically. And it will tell you so much about yourself. And for those who are 30 years old and above, and some of the things that I want to point out, which is very important, my mom showed a blood pressure reading over 130 over 85. She showed elevated triglyceride levels over 150 milligrams per deciliter. She showed elevated HbA1c. She has a waist circumference over 40 inches, and her fasting glucose was over 110 milligrams. She is presenting most of the symptoms of someone who has what we call metabolic syndrome, also known as Syndrome X. These conditions, the more you have, the higher chance you have of suffering a cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, or a stroke. My mom has a high level of being able to experience any of these things. And 90% of Americans are showing one of these 5 signs. So again, when you do your bloods, I want you to look at everything and I want the doctor to take you. So that's step 1. Make the doctor tell you everything about your blood, step by step, everything that is out of range. What I want them to check for you, I want them to check your blood pressure and the blood pressure of your family. I want them to also check your triglyceride levels. If it is over 150 milligrams per deciliter, be concerned. The third thing I want them to check is your waist circumference. If you're a male, is it over 40 inches? And if you're female, is it over 35? If you have an elevated fasting glucose level of 110 milligrams, and I also want you to check your HDL. If your HDL is lower than 40 milligrams for males and lower than 50 milligrams for women, this is that good cholesterol if they're way too low. And if you're presenting 3 or more of those symptoms, you have a high chance of suffering a cardiovascular attack, stroke, or type 2 diabetes. So learn as much about your body as possible. And this is one of the things we do at Sculpt by Science. We analyze blood and we explain each and every single thing so we can have a calculated and measured approach to what we want to improve over the next 4 months, because this will tell us everything we need to know. And that's only a fraction of the information and data that is very important for you to look at. There's liver enzymes, there is your kidney enzymes. There's so many things you need to look at to know how healthy you are. So number 1, for you to live longer, do a yearly blood check just to see, is everything functioning okay? Because if I did this a bit sooner, I could have tackled my mom's issue sooner and understood the severity and the gravity. Because, you tell your parents, hey, get healthy. They're like, I'll do it. They'll ignore it. It won't be important to them. And then they're in the hospital. It works exactly like that. So number 1, ignorance is not bliss. You must know. I just wanted to jump in here and give you guys a quick update on Project Mama. It's been about 3 weeks since I've recorded the video you're watching, and we got started immediately. So we started at 86.6 kgs on the 24th. My mom is working with myself and my team at Sculpt by Science, and she started at 190.3 pounds, 0.93, and she's all the way down to 82.9 kgs, which is 182.77. So she has dropped 8.6 pounds in 3 weeks. So fantastic work. Just to give you guys an update, we just don't talk the talk, we walk the walk. And she's pre-diabetic, she has all factors of syndrome X, and she's now doing amazing. So for any of you in the same scenario, just get to work, just start doing the work. And if you want to do it with us at Sculpt by Science, this is not a promo at all, but if you have a serious issue like this, book a call with us in the description below. Please go and do a test and encourage your loved ones just so that you understand your body better, right? Step number 2, the thing that will prevent you from dying early is alcohol. Why I've put this at number 2 is because the benefit alcohol provides is short. You will feel happiness and enjoyment for that short period of when you're consuming it. However, for that short period of happiness, laughter, and maybe creating some new memories with your friends, it comes at risks of poor decision making after that on a simple level. And I won't make this a, hey, stop drinking alcohol, but it affects various systems of your body because it is literally by definition a poison. Your liver, the moment you ingest alcohol, puts all its focus on detoxifying the blood of that alcohol. It has a cascading effect, which includes your sleep. If you ever measure any of your sleep data, alcohol is the biggest deterrent to your quality of sleep, not just the night of drinking alcohol, but the second, third, and sometimes even the 4th day of drinking alcohol. And the way I want you to think of your sleep is like the oil to your body, right? Imagine your body's this Ferrari, this beautifully designed engine, and if you're religious, by God or whichever deity you believe in, but it is the most sophisticated organism in the world, and simply not having the best quality oil in there will cause everything to not function and for it to break down sooner. So poor sleep will lead to weight gain. Poor sleep will lead to cognitive decline. Poor sleep will lead to increased cardiovascular risks. So this video, we're not just talking about fat loss, we're talking about living longer and improving our health span. So alcohol is just one of those things that have very little benefit and such high risk. And if you're sleeping poorly, all these things, and if you're drinking alcohol often, weekly, I still speak to people who want to work with us at Sculpt by Science, and then they tell us they're drinking every day. Please try to not drink, or try and drink less until you get to a point where it's at moderation, it's occasionally, and then come to us. But that's something very basic, is that alcohol will ruin your quality of sleep. It will ruin your brain's ability to regenerate, to remove the waste materials from your brain, to decrease dementia or Alzheimer's in the future. It will ruin your ability to detoxify all the other things in the body, and also your ability to lose weight, amongst many things. But what I want you to do is, number one, cut out alcohol, and then number two, with sleep, is establish a routine. So simply be consistent with when you're going to bed, so that your body is trained to fall asleep and wake up at a time. That's the first level. The second level after that is make sure that you're getting 7 hours or more. The more you sleep, the better quality your oil will be. If you're sleeping 5 hours and less, you're going to see that your car will break down eventually, using the oil and car analogy. So 7 hours and more. And then after you're getting the duration down, focus on the quality. Like, how are you sleeping consistently throughout? And if you're waking up at night once or twice to urinate or to use the bathroom, or you're hungry, then 3 hours before bed, no more food, and then 2 hours before bed, no more liquids. And if you still notice you're waking up to go to the toilet, stop the liquids 2.5 hours before. And if you're still going to the toilet maybe once now instead of 3 times, stop liquids 3 hours before. And if you're really thirsty, just sip, right? And be consistent with that. Quality sleep is the number one thing that will determine your quality of life. Not even just the way your body functions, but the way you are able to think and be productive, and how you function on a day-to-day basis as a human. And for you guys in your 20s, it sounds cool, and I know I was there, that I used to say all the time, I'll sleep when I'm dead. No. The best thing you can do studying, even if you're lacking time, is sleep. That should be priority over everything, right? So sleep more, and this is something that I'm working on with my mom, and it takes a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It takes months to finally rectify your sleep. So be patient when it comes to that metric, but work on a consistency with sleeping, then work on the quality, and I've made a long video on sleep, which I'll leave in the description. Number 3, the third thing that will help you with extending your life and not dying early. A good population of us are very sedentary, right? Because we work a desk job. You'll notice that people aren't moving as much. You're working all the time, doing a 9 to 5. And so many people that I speak to before they work with me at Sculpt by Science, and again, guys, we speak to a lot of people who apply to work with us. And I'll look at their step count just to see how much is their body moving in a day to day. And I'll hear the 2000s, the 3000s. For your cardiovascular health, which is the number one chronic disease killer in the world, it is important that we work on our cardiovascular health. And this is the way I want you to look at your heart. Your heart is connected to a vast and complex series of pipes, right? That we know as arteries and veins. And these are the only pipes that you have, and they're very, very important. And over time, right, your heart's pumping, and these pipes will accumulate gunk in certain areas, and some areas of the pipes will have wear and tear. And these are common things that you'll see. And right now, in your 20s and 30s, you may not care about how well these pipes function. But when you get into your 30s, 40s, and 50s, that gunk accumulates. And all of a sudden, blood isn't reaching certain parts of your body, let's say your heart. And here we have a heart attack or any cardiovascular disease that might be life-changing and life-ending. So cardiovascular health is so important, because I'm telling you guys now, you may not be thinking of your cardiovascular health because it's something that you have in abundance. But believe me, all the people in the hospital that I've ever dealt with always wish that they had made a change sooner, or they maybe watched a video like I'm saying today and said, you know what, today's the day that I'm going to improve my cardiovascular health so that I can stop future Mike or future Mike's mom from having a heart attack or a stroke. So the first thing I want you guys to do to not die early is to walk more, because when you walk, You're essentially putting more water through your pipes consistently so that there's no gunk accumulation, right? This is going to be healthy, and you're also going to improve the pump itself, the strength of that pump, and it's going to work more efficiently, and your pipes will stay clean and clear so that this thing that takes away so many people, so many loved ones, can be prevented, right? You want to thank past you for future you. And you right now need to do the favor for future you and walk. And at base level, walk 8,000 steps and try and do this in the morning. With all of my clients, I've spoken to so many, I've coached thousands of people and given them amazing results. Walk more. And I'll share a story with you. I have a client, his name's John, or was my client. And John was healthy, right? This is before we pulled his bloods. And I said, hey, John, you're busy. He's running a tech company. And I want you to get an under the desk treadmill. And he got it, right? First week, he's very excited to start. And I said, hey, John, I want you to do 8,000 steps. And John starts doing 8,000 steps. John disappears for 3 days. We're like, hey, John, are you there? What's going on? I call John. And John tells me he's in the hospital. And I'm shocked. And he's like, Mike, you saved my life. And I was like, explain. And John told me about the tightness he felt in his chest and the numbness he felt in his arm. And that walking caused a stress test. And he had an occlusion in his artery, right? And we prevented John from suffering a real heart attack because I told him to get the under the desk treadmill. So walk 8,000 steps at base level. And for the sake of fat loss, right, you can increase. The more you walk, the more fat you'll be able to lose with a caloric deficit. But walking will be incredible for you for your cardiovascular health. Believe it or not, I looked at my mom's data because she came back and I said, how are you only walking 3,000 steps after I got you an under the desk treadmill? And I really looked and she was walking 3,400 steps. So 8,000 steps. Everybody, like, don't apply to work with me if you're not getting 8K. Like, seriously, so I'm just trying to get you to walk more. Walk, please. Like, go on a walk early in the morning with your partner. Wake up sooner, right? Because you want to be around for longer so you can create a better life for yourself. And then as you want to lose more weight, increase those steps. 9,000, 10,000, 11,000, and get to a limit where you feel like, hey, this is my max. Use an Apple Watch or any pedometer to just have a tool that will give you an idea of what this data is. The second thing we can do for our cardiovascular health is high intensity interval training. But you need to do walking first, because if you're above 30% body fat for males and above 35 for women, you can't do HIIT because the risks are higher of getting injured. But again, in short, what high intensity interval training is exactly like the name suggests, high intensity interval in a short period and training, right? So in short, once you're under 30% body fat, I want you to do at level 1, 5 rounds of 30-second sprints. So warm up for 5 minutes, sprint as fast as you can without being able to hold a conversation for 30 seconds, and then walk for a minute, round 1. After that, sprint for another 30 seconds and then walk for a minute. That's going to be round 2. And then do that 5 times. And the way to think of this is that you are developing how well the heart is pumping and clearing out all these pipes, right? There is a direct correlation between how often people do high intensity interval training and longevity. There's research, countless research showing the more HIIT people do, the more they live, right? What has been shown, according to research, to be the best form of HIIT is something called the 4x4 Norwegian protocol. And basically, you warm up for 4 minutes, right? You sprint and you rest for 4 minutes. I'll put it on the screen of how to do it, but do the Norwegian protocol once you're below 30%. Start at 1 session per week, and then work your way up to 2 sessions. And if you really want to be fit, work your way up to 3. But do it stepwise, because if you don't, very likely you'll get injured and you'll take 1 step forward and 2 steps back. And this again plays the role with being sedentary. Now an amazing byproduct will be weight loss. Number 4, the thing you can do to not die early and the daily habits that will kill you early is not exercising. Now, resistance training or any form of exercise is fantastic for not just your cardiovascular health, but also your mental ability, right? mentally aware you are and preventing any neurodegenerative diseases. So at bare minimum, find a way you can do 3 sessions of resistance training. And for those who are 30 years old and above, your body changes from a state of generation where you're growing and building to degeneration. You start breaking down, right? Your body doesn't produce as much testosterone. Your body starts declining in its function, right? You get to a state of you're not growing anymore. You're actually starting to, without sounding too dramatic, slowly die. So the best thing you can do is to try and maintain as much muscle tissue as you can. In your 30s, you will start losing muscle naturally and you'll start losing strength naturally. And it's so important that we fight to maintain it, not just for our looks, but for our health, for our back, for our bone health, right? So resistance training, a minimum of 3 times a week. And if you don't like resistance training, find any training that you enjoy. If it's playing basketball or any exercising, and the minimum of 3. So if you're doing resistance training, do 3 sessions of full body. If you're doing 4 sessions per week, do upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body. If you're going to train 5 times per week, do an upper body, lower body, push, pull legs. And I'll put some screenshots on the screen for you guys just to screenshot and use that. But the 3-4 different training styles I just mentioned, you can just Google it and get any free PDF, right? Take some initiative. But I want you to resistance train for your muscular development, for your bone health, for your cognitive ability, for your cardiovascular health. This will help you live longer. And finally, but most importantly, is better nutrition. So remember when I was talking about the heart and all the pipes and the gunk? A lot of the times the gunk comes from our nutrition. If you think about it, that's the one thing we've been doing each and every single day since birth, is eat. So without getting into the calories in, calories out, which I'm sure you guys are aware of, simply set a rule of eating 80% of your foods from whole foods. That's a level 1. 80%, right? So before you put it in your mouth, ask yourself, is this a whole food? So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. If you're gonna have 5 meals, right? 4 of the 5 should be whole foods. If you're gonna have 3 meals, then at least 2 of them have to be whole foods. Then the second thing you can do is just make sure that they're high protein meals, right? This will help in terms of building muscle, staying full, being able to have a better recovery process, boost your metabolism. And a nice little mnemonic I created was called the 2, 6, 8, 10 method, right? And all these that I'm about to mention will give you 50 grams of protein. 2 scoops of whey protein will give you 50 grams, right? 6 and 2, 6, 8, 10. 6 ounces of cooked chicken breast will give you 50 grams of protein. 8 ounces of steak will give you 50 grams of protein. And then finally, 10 ounces of any fish will give you 50 grams of protein. And simply just try and make sure that in the 3, 4, 5 meals you eat, that you have one of these protein sources in the quantity that I just mentioned. And that will take you to another level. And then the higher level than that, tracking all of your foods. But not only preventing cardiovascular disease, one of the big killers in medicine we call one of the horsemen of death is type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance. And knowing what you're putting in your body can prevent you from developing these chronic diseases into the future. And here I am fixing this with my mom right now, is making sure every single thing she puts in her body is measured, it's calculated, and there's a reason behind this. So for everybody who always writes in my comments about, oh, he's making the same video again, don't be selfish and think about all the other people who really need that help, like, you know, people's families. That there are people who need that. If you feel like you've learned everything that you need from me, then just watch another channel. Don't watch mine. Watch something else. And if you find content that you like, that you topic you want to hear about, then watch it. But nutrition is the foundation, and the best way I can talk about nutrition, it is the fertilizer to this forest of your body, right? And if you're putting junk in your fertilizer, nothing is gonna grow and flourish. They will all die, like all the plants. But if you put amazing good things, you're gonna have this diverse, strong, green and beautiful garden, right? Forest of a body. So 80% whole foods, high protein. And then if you wanna take it to another level, track every single thing. We live in a world now where food is fast, food is processed, and it is very unhealthy for you. And you're making these small decisions each and every single day that may result in you being in the hospital and regretting not making a change. So eat healthy, and I mean, try your best. If you're eating junk every day, make it only on the weekends. After that, say, hey, only once a week. After that, say, hey, no more at all. I'm gonna make all the junk that I like at home and track it. For some, this may sound very basic, but for some, this may save their life. And nutrition is the most important. I would normally put it at 1, but for you guys, I've harped on this for 700 videos. I have many videos detailing all of the stuff I'm talking about, but these are the things that I want you to do to be healthier, and maybe share this with someone that needs to hear this. I'll share what's going on with my mom and how we're improving. There's so much more that I could have gone into, but without getting emotional or anything, I'll leave it there. Peace.